evening, everybody, for a Thursday night fire up. I hope everybody's fired up for this show. I have an awesome panel tonight. To the side of me, Mr. Ralph Williams. Welcome back, Ralph.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here as always amongst everyone here, and it's great everyone out there watching us here tonight. So it's a rainy night in Pittsburgh. I believe the Pirate game was postponed or whatever. Oh no, they're in Philadelphia. Maybe it might have been canceled there too. It's raining like crazy here, so you know.
And underneath Mr. Ralph is none other than the author, Mr. George Eichhorn.
Hi, welcome aboard, everyone, for another great evening of sports.
And then my
Orlando.
co-host, Mr. Smoking Jeremy B.
Hey, Orlando Escobar Jr. Yes, welcome in. And it's not stalking when we're going live because you get the notification. So you're good. But yes, it's great to be here. It's great to talk some sports. We're going to get to talk about sports around the world and then about our town.
Exactly. So I have to ask you guys, do you think, because there's a report out that someone talked to the GOAT, Tom Brady, he might be back? Do we think for the right fit that he will be back? We'll start with my co-host, Smoking Jeremy B.
I actually said when he became a part owner of the Oakland Raiders, he might be the first owner player in football. And do they really want to run out Aiden O'Connell? Yes, he has the Goff type of numbers in play action passing, but he's still a second-year guy who probably could benefit from developing a bit longer because he wasn't a top-notch quarterback coming out. He was a good, not great quarterback in college, played for a good, not great team. We don't know what he's got in the tank, and that would avoid a sophomore slump for them.
Mr. George.
I don't know what Tom is thinking. I really don't. He's got a multi-million-dollar contract and job waiting for him with the network doing football. He's already lost his beautiful, lovely wife, and I don't want to get into any kind of details because it could have been more whatever between the two of them, but that's gone. And now he's being tempted by, once again, coming back. So I just don't want him to do it. I don't, personally speaking, but he makes up his own mind. Like Jeremy said, he's part owner of that team, and if the Raiders need him, I don't know, anything's possible. I mean, the guy said before many times he was retiring and he came back. So, but I'm not for it. But hey, what do I got to say about it other than the fact that I'm an observer of the situation?
Ralph.
I got two words. I got two words for you: ego and greed. His ego and his greed will make him come back. That's as simple as that with Tom Brady. All right, and to have to try to get another Super Bowl with a third team will also bring this into fruition here. And I think it's sad. I agree with George. He should stay, take his football announcing job and run with it. But he's not going to do that because he's Tom Brady. And it's greed, it's ego, and I want another Super Bowl with a third team.
Well, it might not be a third team. What if he goes back to the New England Patriots without Bill Belichick? It's possible. It's possible. Let's face it. I understand he's not as young as he used to be, but his knowledge of the game far outweighs most of these rookies coming in. He's kept himself in really good shape from what I've been told and what I read. Hey, if he was the best person for the job, let him do it. as long as he still has that desire and wants to play and wants to, why should he have any less of a chance making a team as anybody else? Now, I will say you have to give everybody their fair shot. So let him try out. If he wants to try it, why stop him? He could be way better than some of these other ones. I mean, let's face it. New England kind of needs somebody. The Raiders could. Minnesota needs somebody. I don't think he'd go to the Minnesota, but there are teams that need a good quarterback. But yeah, I don't know about that one.
There's some good ones in the chat.
We
Oh,
have all kinds of people here. Let's see.
Orlando Escobar Jr. Raiders if he comes back. Devontae Adams stalking Tom right now if I were him with a laughy emoji. Come back and prove it wasn't Bill the whole time. Rocket scientist, hola, buenos noches, my friend. Ralph looks like he could be Will Vogel's father.
Oh,
And what do you think, Jeremy? I already said it. I said when he became a part owner of the Raiders that he did that to be the first owner player in NFL history. I said that last year. As soon as I found out he became part of it, everybody doubted me. But the fact he's talking about coming back and he's on the panel to get him a contract that he'd want, I think that makes the most sense out of all of them because, as I said, those late round picks usually have a sophomore slump. Oh, what do I think about Ralph being his Will's father? I think that's the funniest comment of the night. I hear you, Ralph. He says,
No, hey, you know what? I've been said other things, so But yeah, T.J. Watt's gonna be licking his chops if Brady comes back.
because you guys play the AFC West this season, right?
I believe we do.
So I have a question for the panel. Who do we think is going to be the next Vikings quarterback? Are they drafting somebody? And if they do, are they drafting up to get somebody? And I will start with my co-host again.
I think they're going to draft somebody, but they're going to let him sit. I think the starter is going to be Sam Darnold this season. In other words, Vikings fans, embrace the suck.
Ralph, your take.
Well, I would think they might because they need some quarterback depth. I mean, if Sam Darnold's their starting quarterback, they need to get somebody in here. I mean, but with others moving on and things like that, and Minnesota's laid an egg with what they've had and backups and stuff. So let's see what happens. With Minnesota, I think they're going to take a quarterback.
George.
well, I still believe that they're really interested in Michigan's J.J. McCarthy. And the problem is that how much do they want to give up to move up in the draft to make sure they can get him? And that's always the difficult situation for a team. I don't personally think that JJ is going to be ready for the NFL. I think I of course, being a Michigan kind of slacky in a way, was hoping he'd come back for one last senior year, but that didn't happen. And I just don't feel he's ready for the NFL. He's got to add some more beef. He's got to get a little bulkier, I think, in the weight room. But they seem to be liking him a lot, the Vikings. So whether it's him or somebody else, I don't know. But to move up, to be safe that they can get him, that's the big question.
Okay, so I will be making an announcement here. There will be 3 of us on this panel that are actually going to be covering the NFL draft in Detroit. Mr. Smokin' Jeremy B, George Eichhorn, and myself, and Scott Morganroth all will be at the draft covering it for you guys.
Well, I will be at a draft party here in Pittsburgh at Stage A, and it's sponsored by the Aaron Donald Foundation. So you'll be seeing me putting up pics with me and Aaron Donald. So
Great.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. So my question to Smokin' Jeremy B, because I know you've kind of studied a lot of the draft and a lot of things. What team is going to surprise us by going out of their norm and doing something different, and maybe trading up to get somebody that we weren't projecting them to do?
I'm honestly thinking it's going to be Minnesota moving up to either 5 or 6 to get either J.J. McCarthy or Drake May, whichever one falls there. Because there will be 4 quarterbacks off the board in the first 6 picks.
Okay.
I know you say Chargers, but I would rather them trade up with the Giants. I would love Dan Leonard, my co-host, to be very happy to get the 11th and the 23, because that means that his GM was blowing smoke when he said he wanted J.J. McCarthy.
Anybody else, Ralph? Do you have any predictions of something surprise with the draft?
Well, Candy, anything can happen. I mean, there's a lot of teams out here, and I was talking about this on my radio show on Tuesday, where you have teams that you think might be taking a quarterback end up taking some kind of defensive tackle. I mean, or you got a team that you thought that was going to take a defensive tackle might end up taking a quarterback. That's the way I look at the draft. I mean, it's always unpredictable. You never know what anyone's going to do, and it's never an exact science. So I think there's going to be a few surprises. There's a few teams out here probably looking for something specific. I know the Steelers are looking for an offensive lineman, a center. They're looking for a defensive tackle, a corner, and they need wide receiver help now. So I mean, they're going to be active. I think. I'm already been told from some colleagues of mine that cover the Steelers that there's a trade in the works. When and how, I don't know. I don't have any further details on that, but I can say last year they traded up to get Broderick Jones. So who knows? I mean, with Omar Khan, you never know anymore. That's why they call him the Khan man. So we're going to see where this draft goes. I mean, anybody could pick anything. Tampa Bay, they want Powers Johnson. I'm hearing they want to trade up to get him. That they really want him. They need him. So I mean, because Baker Mayfield don't have anybody to snap the football. So I mean, and they just paid a lot of money for Baker. They don't want him getting hurt. So we'll see what happens.
They're all pro retired, right? And then
Yes.
they had a career-ending injury at the end of
Yeah.
the season with the rookie that they
Yeah.
drafted, right?
Right.
That's why they need a center. And
Yeah.
JPJ makes sense except for one thing. His medicals came back really bad, and he's starting to drop in the rankings a little bit.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he could actually be there, and they may not have to trade up
No.
because somebody might go to the next center on the board just
Yeah.
to avoid that possible injury. The
The injury bugaboo, Jeremy.
It's the type of medical that makes you prone to an injury that could happen, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And I don't
Right.
know what the exact details is. I haven't seen it, but I've been paying close attention to a lot of stuff in the draft. I bought my draft Bible and I sit and read prospect notes every night. And there's some really nice late round players that have a chance to be starters in this NFL, especially if you pay attention to the guy that's called Math Bomb, which is Kent Lee Platt. He's the one that
Mhm.
developed the relative athletic score, and they score that against every single combine attendant since 1987. And there's a tackle out of Wyoming, and I don't want to say his name, but he actually scored as the 26th best offensive tackle, and he's slated to be either a 7th rounder or a UDFA. And if you talk,
yeah. Especially if team need lineman, Jeremy, he's going to be a hot pickup. If teams out there that need linemen.
and I honestly hope that a team that wants a good backup tackle to take over for an aging, possible retiring or not being re-signed tackle would grab him possibly in the 6th round with one of their 2 picks. But I won't go. I don't want to go any further than that.
George, Any surprises you foresee?
No, I mean, Joe Alt is a great athlete at Notre Dame, offensive tackle, and the latest charts I've seen, he was about first third of the first round. Let's say 12, 13, somewhere in there. But this kid's he's got a lot going for himself, and he's graded out really well. He could be the first offensive tackle taken. Other than that, I mean, I gotta agree with Jeremy, of course. I mean, you got Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May and JJ McCarthy. I mean, oh, and of course Marvin Hudson Jr. I think it's going to be a very offensive first round, especially the early picks. I mean, in that round, so it's going to be interesting to see. And anything's possible. I agree with you guys. I mean, Brad Holmes of the Lions is done great the last few years. They're not going to be drafted until way down in the first round, of course. Being a second runner up to San Francisco at the NFC Championship. So Detroit is kind of a little, up in the air as far as what they're going to go for. Do they go for the best talent available? Do they go for a certain position? But from a standpoint of the Midwest here. Oh, and then Cooper DeJean. I'm keeping my eye on him, the safety out of Iowa. He's very well rated. And I mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. Just some key people from the Big Ten that I'm thinking about, of course, along with JJ McCarthy and Joe Alt. Even though Notre Dame's not in the Big Ten, but he's going to go high too.
Yeah, my radio co-host, Smoking Jim Frazier, wants Cooper DeJean to be picked up by the Steelers.
There you
So,
go.
Yeah, he likes Cooper DeJean. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean himself.
DeJean.
DeJean, whatever. look at his actual statistics as a corner / safety last year, because he did play outside corner at CB1, and then when the strong safety got hurt, he switched to safety. He had 388 coverage snaps, 0 touchdowns allowed, 2 interceptions, and 4 pass breakups, and QBs against had a 37.8 passer rating.
Wow.
That's second best overall stats of any corner / safety coming out this draft. Do you know who he's second to?
Joey
No.
Porter Jr.
This draft.
No, who?
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Oh,
Kool-Aid,
I like Kool-Aid. Yeah, I like Kool-Aid.
The only thing that's going to make him drop to lower than the top 3 guys, and the top 3 guys right now is what I'm hearing is Nate Wiggins. Even though he got hurt at the combine when he ran that elite fastest time in the NFL ever ran at the combine, that 4.21, is Terrion Arnold, actually Kool-Aid's teammate, and Quinyon Mitchell are the top 3.
Okay.
So I've actually been paying attention to it. So there's a chance that one of our teams could grab that guy.
Yeah.
But with the interior O-line thing, there's a good center that's going to be at the top of the second round. And we all know the top of the second round isn't much different than
Frazier from West Virginia.
Yeah, the one from West Virginia.
Yeah,
And
Frazier.
I actually see that as a guy that the Steelers could go for instead of JPJ if they don't like the medicals.
He's on our radar. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
He's already on our radar.
Yeah, he's going to go in the first round. I think you're right.
And I think JPJ may fall to somebody. And you know what? You can say what you want. He's that shorter, low center of gravity center that you want, JPJ. And they're after 20. You know who could use him? They're all pro low center of gravity center just retired. The Eagles.
Oh yeah. That's true. Yeah.
Because without Jason Kelsey, I don't think there's a tush push.
That kid from Duke too, Jeremy. He's going up on the board.
And
That
Barton,
one from Duke. Yeah, he's going up.
lineman who plays all 3 interior lineman positions. And the other one that's moving up the draft boards is Cooper Beebe. He fell for some reason. He'd have been the best guard if he came out his junior year, went back to school, had a great year, and actually pushed Byron Murphy in that game versus Kansas State back into the end zone to let the running back run through.
Yeah, somebody there said about Neighbors. I like that Neighbors kid. I want. Yeah, I like him.
Okay, guys, we've been talking a lot about the NFL, but there's some other sports being played right now. I want to talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. Corbin Burns came out today, I believe it was today, and he said part of the reason why we are having so many Tommy John surgeries is because of the pitch clock and the fact that they are rushing everything and they feel that they're constantly going and going and going, that they really needed that little bit of rest, even though it's a little bit of time, that little bit of extra time. Your thoughts on the injuries this year with all of the Tommy John surgeries that have gone around? Do you think the pitch clock has anything to do with all the injuries to pitchers? And I'll start with Mr. George.
Well, I don't profess to be an expert on this, but I have to think that it probably did have a little bit to do with it. These guys are used to pitching at a certain pace. I mean, they were trained, they were nurtured, they were brought along by their training staff and their pitching coaches and their bullpen coaches, and they're in a they're a rare breed, all right. The pitchers have a certain pattern, and when I say pattern, I don't just mean their repertoire. I mean their pitching pattern as far as the length and the time, like you were saying. And Candy, I think there could be something to that, because you're asking me as a pitcher to cut out 3 seconds or 15 seconds or whatever it is, and adjust to that. That being said, there are more injuries. There are way more, especially Tommy John surgeries, than I had ever thought there would be, and it's just gotten to the point of concern. Obviously, can they? Well, maybe they could point at other things going on. I don't know. I mean, the pitchers are obviously not in the game as long as they used to be. We all know that. The starters,
Yeah.
especially, we've gone so specialization on pitching with starters, middle, closer, setup, everything. But the only thing that has changed is this pitch count and the time that the pitcher has to throw that ball. I think there's something to it. I don't know how does everybody else feel? I think there is something to it.
Ralph, what is your opinion?
I think I agree with you 100% on that, Candy and George. I think that the pitch clock is causing this problem. And, as George mentioned, the pitchers and Jeremy mentioned is the pitchers have a certain rhythm as to how they do their thing. And I agree with that perspective. And you know something? This commissioner of baseball, this Rob Maravich, he's got so much egg on his face, it's unbelievable. And this is just another example of the egg he has on his face, because I'm going to tell you what, there was no need for this pitch clock thing at all. All right. And, you want to speed the game up, or you want to stop cheating or whatever, it's happened to Houston Astros, the signal stealing thing, it led to them doing some electronic signals now and all that other stuff. So it's a big mess that he created, and now he's created another mess, and pitchers are going to get more surgeries, and here we are.
Smoking Jeremy B.
Well, there is a solution without eliminating the pitch clock. Here it is. If the same pitcher is in and they go past 3 innings, because this is when we used to see it, they would take an extra 5 to 10 seconds per pitch after 3 innings before the pitch clock. They used to pitch at the pace that's why they set it at what they set. The pace through 3 innings used to be exactly what they set it at. Pitchers were going fast. And the reason why? It's the third time through the lineup, 9 times out of 10. If you got a good hitting team, you're in the third time through the lineup by the 4th inning. So you get to that point where they're starting to take a little extra time because they're trying to throw the timing off. Because batting is timing, pitching is upsetting timing. So if you went after 3 innings, if it's the same pitcher in, and then increased it by 10 seconds for the 4th through 6th innings, and then after 2 times through the lineup, you increase it again if it's the same pitcher is in, especially if they have a chance to do a no-hitter or a perfect game. But if you put the reliever in there, you go right back to the original pitch clock because that's a fresh arm.
Well, you know something too, everyone here. Uh, Another thing too, you got pitchers now pitching 100 miles an hour, and that can that hurts their arms too. And if they have to speed that kind of a pitch up just to get it, you know what I mean? You know, that's another reason why a lot of these Tommy John surgeries too. But I think it's the pitch clock plus the fact that a lot of these pitchers now pitching over 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, including the Pirates' #1 pick Paul Skeens, and that's why they're careful with Skeens because you know he pitches them kind of fastballs or them kind of pitches. And, you know, they're only having them pitch 2 innings at a time.
The math is simple. MLB batters hit 275 against fastballs thrown between 90 and 93 miles per hour last season. Against fastballs 96 miles an hour and up, batting average drops to 234. So yes, you're right. They're trying to throw harder. And what they're saying now is a pitcher needs a mid-90s fastball to be drafted early.
Mm-hmm.
So you have young guys with young arms that are trying to throw with such high velocity. One of the other things, I remember we did a show with a coach or a pitching coach, and I remember him telling us that the problem is that kids these days, and part of it is the parents' influence, they're only playing one sport and they're specializing in that sport. So they play that sport all the time, starting from a very young age. And the problem with that is then they're constantly throwing and using those same motions and doing the same things. Whereas if you are a more well-rounded sports person, you're going to play baseball for one part of the season. You're going to play a different sport for a different part of the season, which uses different muscles. So you're not straining the same muscles all of the time. And I think that's true because I think we've gotten to the point where parents are pushing their kids to specialize in one sport, whether it be baseball or basketball or football, and they're not playing all the different sports like they used to.
I agree. That's a very good observation, Candy. And there are still some kids that are multi-sport stars, but I think it has gone down here in Michigan, especially. You know, people are being more selective. You know, and hockey is a great example. Most of these kids that play hockey, they could care less about soccer, baseball, football, anything else. And I know hockey is one of the more expensive sports to play because of all the equipment that you've got to have. But still, I mean, when you're in some of these cold weather states, Ralph, I mean, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, they love their hockey. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people, you know, your state is another one that,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure a lot.
Oh yeah, we love hockey up here. I mean, it's you know, it starts out in we have colleges now that are doing hockey that smaller colleges that have never done hockey. Look how much Robert Morris has put into their hockey program. In fact, it was ready to go down the drain because of lack of funding, and a whole bunch of people got together and put money together and saved it. We got women's hockey now here, so I mean, you know, with stuff going on, you know. So you're right, and you know, like you said, kids are playing one sport. When I was in high school, I knew a guy a kid who played every sport. He played golf, he played baseball, he played basketball, he played football, he played it all. And you know, but that was then, and this is now. You know, it's a whole new mentality of child.
It is. It is. Any other topics, any of you, before we get to my town, that anybody wants to bring up? We could talk. The Masters just started today. They had a big delay. They had a 150-minute weather delay, and only 59 of the 89 players were able to finish their rounds before darkness halted play.
2.5
So
hour
that's
delay. Yeah. But it was a thing of beauty. I saw the video of Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tom Watson as the honorary starters. And to me, that's what the Masters is all about. I mean, Arnold Palmer, God rest his soul, is gone. There have been other greats that have had that honor, but now they're honoring. And Jack has slowed down a lot. And Gary Player looks the best. Tom Watson looked really good too, but I know Jack has slowed down. He had his wife as his caddy. It was so cool. If you haven't seen it, you got to go into YouTube and find that. It's only about 5-10 minutes long, but it's well worth it to see those three guys, those three great golfers, do the honorary stuff. After they waited through the rain delay.
Orlando must not play league controlled golf because there actually is a timer on the tee stand. You only have so many seconds before you can hit the ball. Once you place the tee, you can do all the waving and stuff that you want beforehand, but once you place that tee, you do have a time clock.
Oh my. Wow.
okay. Any other topics? I mean, obviously March Madness is done. We have to give kudos to the women's and all the viewership they had. South Carolina had such a run, undefeated. Dawn Staley giving credit to Caitlin Clark for helping elevate the game of women's basketball. And then, of course, the UConn men taking it, the better game was, in all honesty, the South Carolina versus Iowa. I watched both games. Purdue put up a good fight for part of it, but UConn was just hands down the better team that game. So
More lied to me.
that's funny.
Orlando Escobedo Jr., you are being quite the little funny man tonight.
Well,
It's a Cinderella story about to become the Masters champion.
I think since we did get a late start, I think we're gonna do my town. So let's start with Ralph.
Well, the Pirates are where they are. But they lost tonight 5-1 to the Phillies, and they're going to they're 9-4, and we'll see where they go from here. I'm predicting 500. The Penguins, on the other hand, are slowly creeping up to get into a wild card here. Some teams have to lose, and the Penguins have to win some of these games. They've already won a few, so we'll see where they go from here. And the Steelers, well, we don't know what Omar Khan's up to. As I mentioned earlier, they call him the con man. So we're going to find out what he does. And I will be at the Pitt Spring game on Saturday to see what the Panthers look like in football this year. And we have a nice freshman quarterback named Eli Hornstein that transferred from Alabama. I'm interested to see what he looks like. And our so-called starting quarterback who has decided to transition to tight end, Phil Dracovic, is entering the NFL draft. So we're going to find out where he goes or what happens with him in the draft. So other than that, I have nothing else.
George, what's happening in your town?
Well, my town being Detroit, and right now we are on the verge of seeing if the Red Wings are for real or not. So if you have not heard the news, they did tie it up, went into overtime, but Pittsburgh defeated them today. So you got Pittsburgh in the second wild card spot in the Eastern Conference with 86 points, and then 1 point behind the Detroit Red Wings, the Washington Capitals, and the Philadelphia Flyers with 85 points each. Now, Philadelphia has played one more game than those teams that I just mentioned. But the Red Wings only have to blame themselves if they don't make the playoffs. As Jeremy knows, they were in the driver's seat. They had a good thing going. Then they got all out of whack. Their captain was injured, and everything falls apart. losing 6, 7 games or whatever it was. So their record in the last 10 games, the Red Wings only 3, 4, and 3. So that's been kind of their downfall. But they did pick up 1 point, and that is valuable. But Pittsburgh is now 1 point ahead, like I said, of Detroit and Washington and Philly. So it's an exciting down to the last weekend and last week of hockey finish. Everybody here is pulling for Detroit because obviously, number one, there's never been a Stanley Cup playoff game in their new arena. And number two, it's been 7 long years since Hockey Town was able to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's all I got for you.
Smoking Jeremy B. What's happening in your town?
Well, the Tigers looked better than most people anticipated starting out with a 5-1 start. Then they ran into that buzzsaw that was electric of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But yet, at the same time, the Pirates did Pirates things towards the end of that series by having a 5-1 lead and losing 6-5. So, that is something that Ralph Williams is used to seeing. Hot start, a little fizzle a couple of weeks in, then go back on another hot streak, then fizzle for another streak. The Tigers do the same thing, especially early in the season. If they're able to keep up, the problem is our mid starters are not as good as the 2 guys at the top and the 1 guy at the back end of the rotation. Maeda, right?
Yeah.
And then the other kid, I can't think of his name right now, but those guys look awful.
Flaherty, they picked up, remember? Yeah.
Both of those guys were pickups this year, and both of them look awful. Mize looks electric. He added 2 miles per hour to almost every pitch except for his curveball, which he's trying to improve. He wants to get that to around 86, 87 when it's the most effective, because that's when you get that, what is it called? That 12-6 drop that they want. So that's what he's working on right now. But he did pick up the 2 miles an hour on his fastball. He's hitting like 96 to 98 miles an hour religiously with it. His slider is electric, hitting 88 to 90 miles an hour. It's his curveball and his changeup that he's working on, because that change of pace and the speed that they hit those at, that's what makes a pitcher elite. That's why he's second. And Struble, Tariq looks fantastic.
Yes.
But the bats have to come around when the 3 and 4 pitchers are on the mound, or we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about my town. I'm going to talk about football. Believe it or not. Can you believe that? But surprise, you're right. But I'm going to first start out with down here in South Florida, because like Ralph, on Saturday is the spring game. We are headed down to Coral Gables because Miami, for the first time, is actually going to have their spring game at home. Coral Gables at Cobb Stadium. They normally have played up here at Fort Lauderdale, where now is called Chase Stadium, where Inter Miami plays the last couple of times for a spring game. There's all kinds of questions on how this team is going to do, because they have had all kinds of transfers in and out with the transfer portal and recruiting. The biggest question we'll start out with is quarterback, because Cam Ward transferred, 6'2", 223-pound quarterback who had a career year at Washington State last season, threw 3,375 yards and 33 touchdowns, now comes to Miami, and he takes the place for Tyler Van Dyke, who used the transfer portal to transfer out. So I'm excited and interested because, 1, I've never been on Miami's campus. 2, I've never seen this stadium, and I always like seeing new stadiums. But to see how the Hurricanes have changed and how their offense changes under this new quarterback will be very interesting. For my town, this is going to be a rant because I'm really upset with the NFL. you decide you want to become an international giant. I get that. So what are you going to do? Opening weekend, you are taking my Green Bay Packers and you're going to ship them out to Brazil, and then you're not going to let any of us watch unless we stream on Peacock, because I don't live anymore in Philadelphia or in Green Bay, so the local TV will get their TV rights, but the rest of us now have to stream it. And that upsets me. You want us to support you and growing your brand, which I understand, but you're growing to a place that I've never been. I would love to be able to watch that and not have to pay a separate streaming service. I mean, I've got Amazon, so I already pay Amazon. How many different streaming do I have to have? So that, yes, I know, Orlando, there are some Detroit people that do not like my Packers. But if you're an NFL fan, you should be kind of upset too, because if you've never been to Brazil and never seen their stadium, and that it should be on regular TV. It should not be on a streaming service. And that's where my beef with the NFL is. I understand you're trying to grow your brand. I understand that. But I would not put a game of that magnitude, that's the first time you're playing in Brazil, and put it on a streaming service.
I believe Amazon may have something to say about it because they paid for every Thursday night game, and that's supposed to be a Thursday night game.
It's a Friday night game. It's the first time they're playing on Friday night.
Yeah, no, the Thursday game, Jeremy, remember, is going to be Kansas City against another opponent.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, no, yeah, this is a Friday. See, and I don't like it because I don't like it too, guys, because, for years the NFL felt necessary, rightfully so, to stay away from Friday nights. Okay, that's high school football night in most of America, and the colleges too have trampled on that, and they put games on ESPN, puts games on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and some not as often on Friday. But here we have the most prestigious league saying, shove it to all the high school fans, football fans, but we got to show this game from Brazil. I don't like it. I don't like it, and I don't like it because of what you said, Candy, too, the people that have to buy it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry?
8 o'clock start, right? 8 p.m.?
I think. I don't know if it's officially said yet. But
I don't know if they've officially said yet.
If they make it 9 o'clock, I'll be more okay with it, because that's getting towards the end of all the high school games.
That's true, Jeremy. Yeah.
9 o'clock, where you're going to be interfering with especially at homecoming time at a lot of these high schools, that'll interfere with the ends of those games, because the homecoming halftime is usually an hour versus the 15 to 30 minutes it normally is. So
yeah,
I see a lot of issues with the Friday night games in general, and I see issues with having Saturday night games in general. And this year, Christmas is on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we're going to have football on Monday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and Sunday.
Yeah, I agree, George. Friday nights has always been high school night. And
yeah,
the NFL needs to impose on that. Saturdays was always college. Why we have to stray away from those and take away, because yes, Jeremy, I agree, like the 9 o'clock start, but if you think about it, like Green Bay is Central Time Zone, so that's 8 o'clock. So high school is definitely still playing their football games during that time frame. And I'm sorry,
I'm just saying, I was trying to smooth it over a little bit.
Oh yeah,
I understand.
That's what the NFL's doing. They're going to try to smooth it over a little bit. But you want to know what you do? Don't watch it.
That's
Listen
true.
to it on the radio. Don't watch it on TV.
Well, the NFL has egg on their face about Amazon because they're not getting the viewership that they used to get when it was on NBC. So the viewership there, and then also here in Pittsburgh, we're lucky though. If the Steelers are on Amazon, that we have two local stations here that are willing to put it on their station for everyone to watch, and including the Thursday night game with Amazon game, or if they have a Peacock game, because there are people like you said don't have Peacock. I have it with my cable system, so I get it for free. So
Yep. And then you got other people that find these outside the line streaming services that work fantastic, and you just get every professional game.
I get it. But for the average fan, for the
right,
people who aren't the huge sports fans, and especially when you're going to a market that's never been that you've never played in before, those games, that's where the average fan wants to see with the fans over there in Brazil, how they embrace the sport. What kind of fans do they have? What kind of are they buying? Whose gear are they buying? Do they back, because you hear them that they'll back certain teams and they have their favorite teams. It's cool when they go to those places and they show the different sites for those of us that have never been. It's just sad to me that it has to be on a different paid service. Some of us pay for cable, some of us pay for, Amazon, some of us pay for whatever, DirecTV, streaming,
Fire
whatever.
Stick, whatever. Yeah.
Jill for
That
Fire
being-
Stick, buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, really.
With all that being said, this has been an awesome edition of Fire Up. We're going to go around the horn and everybody can tell everybody how they can watch you and get a hold of you. We're going to start with Mr. George Eichhorn.
Hi. You could find me on the South Florida Tribune and the Motor City Tribune, along with great writers like Jeremy and Scott and Denzel or whoever that is contributing. Oh yeah, and at the end of my column, there's a little tagline or two that's will connect you to Amazon if you want to get a copy of my book, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. Scott's in the book. Yeah, very young looking Scott with a lot of hair too. brown hair. And I also write for something called the Detroit Monitor. I'm looking forward to the draft with many of you, obviously being there in Detroit. We love it. And we're also looking forward to getting a hold of each other. So if you want to reach me, go to gicorn@yahoo.com, George Eichhorn on LinkedIn, or you can get me on Twitter at SandGSports99. And find me on any number of these great shows. Fire Up, Pundits, 108 Stitches, Sports Exchange. Just, I love all these shows. It's wonderful. Wonderful network.
Ralph, how can people get a hold of you?
Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. I have several podcasts on there as well. Just started a new one called Sports Capsule, where I come on, talk for about 2-3 minutes, and then go off. I also have a radio show on Tuesday nights on Beaver County Radio, 4 to 6 p.m. drive time, with Smoking Jim Frazier, my co-host, and it's on Beaver County Radio, which you can reach on their website or on the internet. Check out my YouTube channel, and I'm also on Tumblr as well. And now my shows are on Spotify and also on Apple and Amazon as well. So,
Okay. My co-host, Smoking Jeremy B. How can people find you besides here on Fire Up with me?
Well, you can find me on Inside the Pigskin or Pundit, or Professor and the Pupil. Anywhere Scott needs me on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, I'll show up because that's what I do. But you can also find me Monday through Fridays, 11 a.m. to 12, and also 3 nights a week at 9 p.m. to 10-ish on my channel, Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. My Wednesday show is NFL based, so we do something more like this where we cover all the teams as much as we can. I go for the 3 to 4 biggest news releases of the week. Then find my writings with George and Scott and Candy's great photos, all on the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading. Maybe we'll have to have a new picture for my headshot when we all meet up at the draft.
There we go. There we go. You bet. If you like to listen to the audio version of this show, you can find it on iHeartRadio, Google, Apple, Deezer, Castbox, Spotify, Spreaker, wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor, you're going to call my husband, Scott, 954-304-4941. If you want to give us any show ideas, you can email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. But like Jeremy said, go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. But there's a red subscribe button by George. If you see that red subscribe button, that means you did not subscribe to our channel. I don't know why you haven't yet. And please share it with everybody. You want to. Monday nights, we do baseball. 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Tuesday nights, we do football, Inside the Pigskin. Wednesday nights, Scott has a show called Motor City Madman Show, which is an interview show. He does one-on-one interviews. Then we do Sports Exchange, which could be talking about NFL, NHL, NBA, college basketball, women's hoops, cornhole. Yes, I did say cornhole because we talk about just about anything. Thursday nights is Pundit's Pundit, and then Fire Up. You just never know what we're going to be talking about. But we always talk about my town because that's one of my segments. But there is one other thing that we have got to get up there. There's a book. It's called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Scott Morgenroth wrote it. George wrote the foreword on it. There's a picture of Scott with a young Muhammad Ali in there. You have to open it up, get the book, open it up, look at it, read it, find it. But enjoy the book. The book talks about Scott. Scott's a storyteller. He tells all kinds of stories about all the different things he's done in the media and how media has changed over the 40 plus years that he's been in the business. So it's a really good, easy read. Again, it's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and Apple Books. Soon, hopefully, on Google Books as well. Orlando, thank you for the love. Even if you don't support my team, like I said, if you listen to the Pundit's Pundit, I respect everybody's opinion, and everybody has a right to their opinion. So whether you agree with me or disagree, I respect you. So thank you so much, and I'm glad you're a subscriber. Jeremy, you want to take us home and end us like you always do?
Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. Much love to everybody in the chat. Have a great day. And Orlando Escribano Jr. is a new subscriber to the South Florida Tribune. He's writing on your channel, not mine.
Awesome. Much love. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.